You were born into a world that never stops speaking. Feeds refresh, timelines update, inboxes swell. And somewhere beneath the endless scroll, you forgot how to breathe. You're not alone. Every second, you're bombarded. Ads telling you what you need. Influencers telling you who to be. Apps reminding you what you're missing. Nietzsche never saw TikTok. But he understood noise. The kind that drowns thought, buries introspection, murders stillness. He called it decadence. A society addicted to distraction. Comfort without meaning. Movement without direction. Pleasure without presence. You think your anxiety comes from not doing enough. But what if it's the doing that's killing you? We live in a constant state of stimulation. Ping, scroll, like, refresh. And the soul, starved for depth, is fed dopamine instead of truth. When everything is urgent, nothing is real. You're always reacting, never reflecting. Always comparing, never becoming. And the irony. You're connected to everyone. And yet you feel utterly alone. Because your notifications aren't conversations. They're echoes. Noise bouncing off empty walls. Existential angst doesn't come from silence. It comes from being smothered by everything except meaning. In Nietzsche's time, the machine had just started turning. In ours, it never stops. It runs while you sleep. It whispers while you dream. It shouts when you wake. And it demands one thing, your attention. But attention is life force. And every second you give to the machine, it takes from your becoming. You are not just tired. You are spiritually exhausted. Because you are performing endlessly. Likes are not love. Followers are not friends. And the version of you the world praises might not even be you at all. You curate a life for others to witness. But who witnesses you? So ask yourself this: when was the last time you sat in a room without your phone? Without music, without a podcast? Without a screen to numb the ache? When was the last time you existed without performing? Without curating? Without proving your worth to a crowd that forgets you tomorrow? Alienation is not just emotional. It is existential. You're not lost because you're broken. You're lost because the map was never yours to begin with. They gave you coordinates for a life they never lived. Told you success was found in numbers, in speed, in applause. But Nietzsche knew better. He saw the herd. And he warned against it. To follow the herd is to vanish. To conform is to decay. To be liked by everyone is to be no one. And here's the quiet terror of modern life: you are free to be anything. Except still. Stillness threatens the system. Because stillness asks questions. Stillness reflects. Stillness remembers who you are before the noise began. So they drown you in updates. They train your mind to chase novelty, not meaning. Speed, not substance. Reaction, not reflection. But here's the truth Nietzsche whispered into the abyss: if you want to become yourself, you must step away from the crowd. You must go into the wilderness of your own mind. You must confront the silence. And ask, what do I truly value? What would I love if no one were watching? That is the birth of rebellion. That is the birth of self. And yes, it will be lonely at first. Because the world will mock you for disconnecting. But what they call loneliness might be the first time you've ever heard your own voice. Nietzsche didn't fear the void. He welcomed it. Because within it, there is space to become. The noise of now is not just a distraction. It's a design. To keep you from awakening. To keep you from creating your own meaning. To keep you obedient, anxious, dependent. But you don't have to obey. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be what they expect. You can pause. You can turn down the volume. You can reclaim the breath the algorithm stole. Because you are not a product. You are a process. You are becoming. And your becoming begins the moment you say, enough. Chapter 2, The Hollow Throne, Will to Power in a Collapsing Order. Nietzsche never asked you to feel safe. He asked you to feel real. Because safety can be a prison. And comfort, a coffin. At the center of every scream into the void is the will to power. Not power over others, but power over the self. The will to shape your own becoming. But that will, in the modern age, has been hijacked, drugged, dressed up in productivity metrics and branded ambition. They told you to chase dreams, but sold you algorithms, sold you careers that devour your soul, sold you a script you were never meant to follow. Now look around. Everyone's exhausted. Everyone's hungry for meaning, but gorging on noise. This isn't ambition. This is addiction. You climb the ladder, chasing degrees, promotions, followers, applause, chasing the illusion of arrival, only to reach the summit and find nothing. Just the echo of your own breath in a hollow chamber. A throne made of dust, surrounded by mirrors. And no reflection feels like you anymore. Because the will to power cannot be fulfilled by external conquest. Only by internal transformation. But transformation is violent. It requires death. Not of the body, but of the illusions you inherited. The lies you wear. The story that told you who you should be. Nietzsche said, you must become who you are. But to do that, you must first let go of who the world told you to be. And that is terrifying. Because it means questioning everything. Your job, your name, your rituals, your gods. It means standing naked before your own becoming. No script. No applause. Just the raw material of you. In a world of collapsing orders, where tradition is shattered and certainty is a myth, the only thing left to build on is yourself. Not the version of you they trained for obedience, but the you beneath that. The wild one. The one that aches to create, not conform. To live, not merely survive. But they will tell you you're selfish. They will call it arrogance. Because choosing yourself threatens the machinery. And the machinery is desperate to survive. So it feeds you roles. It flatters you with titles. It seduces you with status. But at night, when you're alone, you feel it, don't you? The quiet despair of a life that isn't yours. The low hum of a soul unlived. This is the cost of performance. And no paycheck can repay it. The will to power isn't about domination. It's about liberation. To reclaim your power is to reclaim your choice. Not the illusion of choice between brands or ideologies, but the real, terrifying, holy choice to create your own values. That's what Nietzsche meant when he spoke of the Übermensch. Not a tyrant, not a god, but a human who chooses their path even when the world offers none. And here's the paradox, the world is collapsing. But this is your chance to rise. Because when the old thrones fall, you no longer have to kneel. When the scaffolding of should and must crumbles, you can finally ask, what do I want to become? Not what pleases the crowd. Not what fits the algorithm. But what sets me on fire? That's the power Nietzsche offered you. The terrifying freedom to shape yourself. And the responsibility to face the abyss without a script. But the abyss is not the enemy. It is the canvas. And your fear. That's the first sign you're on the right path. Because the ego trembles before transformation. But the soul hungers for it. So let the old version of you collapse. Let the titles rot. Let the masks melt. There is no salvation in performance, only repetition. But there is resurrection in truth. And your truth begins where the applause ends. So stand before the ruins of expectation and build something real. From your own hunger, from your own voice, from your own will to become. Because the world may be collapsing, but that's not the end. That's the invitation. Chapter 3: Dancing on the Edge, Embracing the Abyss. God is dead, not as a boast, but as a lament. Nietzsche wasn't celebrating. He was mourning. The collapse of certainty, the funeral of inherited meaning, the death of structure in a world that once believed it was held in divine hands. And what replaced it? Not hope, not clarity, but a void? This is the abyss you feel in the quiet moments. Not fear of death, but fear that life means nothing. No celestial blueprint. No final judgment. Just infinite possibility and the unbearable weight of your own freedom. This is the burden of modernity. This is the silent scream in every overstimulated mind. Every 3 a.m. stare into the ceiling. Every hollow smile that hides the ache of what's the point. But Nietzsche didn't leave us in despair. He never handed us nihilism without a hammer. He gave us the abyss and the permission to build on top of it. Because here's the secret he whispered through the ages: the abyss is not your enemy. It is your mirror. And if you can look into it without flinching, you can become. When the old gods fall, you are free to sculpt your own altar. When inherited purpose dies, you are free to forge your own reasons to rise. This is terrifying, because no one will save you. No institution will tell you who you are. No ideology will cradle your soul. You are alone with your choices. But that, my friend, is freedom. Existential angst is the price of radical freedom, but it's also the gateway to radical selfhood. The pain you feel isn't failure. It's awakening. You've outgrown the cages of certainty. And now you stand on the edge, where all great things begin. So stop waiting for permission to exist. Stop apologizing for the wildness inside you. Stop begging the world to define your worth. You were not born to be catalogued. You were not born to be efficient. You were not born to be a market segment. You were born to become. To walk toward the unknown. To face the absurd. To stare into the darkness and whisper, "I am still here." This is not despair. This is defiance. This is the sacred rebellion of being alive in a world that profits from your numbness. You are not a statistic, not a profile, not a brand. You are a soul mid-flight, falling upward into what could be. And what is the final rebellion? To stay, to feel, to choose your values when the world offers none, to plant meaning where none is given, to dance even on the edge of the abyss. That's the courage Nietzsche called for. Not the bravery of soldiers, but the bravery of those who create in the dark, who sculpt selfhood from silence, who laugh without reason, who love without permission, who live without guarantees. In a society that tells you to consume, you must create. In a world that tells you to conform, you must become. In a culture that fears silence, you must listen. And if no one has told you this lately, let me say it now: I'm glad you're here. Not because you're perfect, not because you have it all figured out, but because you're still becoming. You are what the world forgot: a soul with agency, a fire without a leash, a voice that refuses to go silent. And maybe, just maybe, that's all this life ever was meant to be. Not answers, not arrivals, but an honest dance on the edge of chaos, choosing joy, choosing courage, choosing yourself. Again. And again. And again. This is not the end. This is where the Rael story begins. In your hands. In your voice. In the breath you take after this sentence. We face the void together. And we choose to stay. Especially in the dark.